Hello everyone, I am Tanmay Tripathi and today I have taken a very small topic from Transfer of Property Act, and the topic is whether a transfer to unbound is possible or not. So you need to understand this concept, and for understanding this concept you need to go through these two sections, and section 20 will also come into picture and I will make you understand how it is also coming into picture. So our question is whether a transfer to unbound is possible or not. Okay, before this I want to make you understand, I want to tell you one thing, that in 1882 we have codified this Transfer of Property Act, but before this what was the law and why there is a need to have Transfer of Property Act, why there is a need for a particular law to come into picture for transferring, for the act of transfer, such as mortgaging a particular thing, for making sale of immovable property, for exchange, for gift and etc. Because Transfer of Property Act deals with mainly with immovable property, transfer of immovable property and sometimes movable also. Okay, so the need arises, why the need arises for TPA. So before TPA the principle of justice, equity and good conscience were into picture. So before TPA, justice, equity and good conscience was into picture, and all the transfer was taking place on the basis of this. So privy councils were giving judgments on a dispute arising out of transfer, and in those judgments privy council used this thing, justice, equity and good conscience. But the problem was this, there was no problem in transfer, there was not problem in solving the disputes. The problem was this, that the judgments of privy council were contradictory in nature. So the need arose in 1882 that there must be a codified law, and because of which Transfer of Property Act came into picture. So you need to understand this fact कि why we are having this Transfer of Property Act in 1882 and not before this, and why after 1882 the need arises. So it was just because क्योंकि प्रिवी काउंसिल के कॉन्ट्रडिक्टरी जजमेंट्स थे, तो एक सहमति बनी कि एक ऐसा कॉडिफाइड लॉ हो जिससे कि डिस्प्यूट्स सॉल्व हो सकें, और जस्टिस, इक्विटी, गुड कॉन्साइंस was still right now also it is the principle. In Punjab, in Haryana, you will find that cases are being decided on this concept only. They are not following Transfer of Property Act. This is also one of the fact, and in my later videos, future videos, I will let you know all the things. So mainly we are focusing on this point, whether transfer to unbound is possible or not. So simply you need to understand, answer always must be yes, transfer to unbound is possible. Now I will make you understand how is it possible. Section 5, when you will read section 5, it is specifically declaring that it is the act of conveying the property, means handing over the property from one person to another person, from an individual to a group of person. So it is a conveyance of property among living persons. So under section 5 you will find the transfer only among living person. This is the fact under section 5. Okay, under section 5 of TPA you will find this wording, living persons. So section 5 is specifically stating this fact that the transfer must be among living person. Then how is it a transfer to unbound possible? So now we need to go through section 13. Okay, so when you will read section 13, here two words are used, prior transfer and subsequent transfer. So when you will read section 13, you need to understand that prior transfer is made to living person and then subsequent transfer is made to non-living person. Okay, so one condition is being fulfilled of section 5, that the transfer is made to living person. Now this prior transfer is made to living person who is in existence, and this prior transfer which is made to a living person is a life estate ownership interest which he or she is getting, and after that subsequently the absolute interest will go to unbound. Okay, so prior transfer, life estate ownership is given to a living person, and later on the absolute interest vests with unbound. So this is how, if we'll read section 5, we'll come to know that transfer to a person who is not living is not possible when we are restricting ourselves to section 5, but later on when we'll go to section 13, we'll find that there is a way to make a transfer to person who is not in existence. How? Prior transfer is made to a living person and then subsequent transfer is made to a person who is not in existence. So you must understand one thing. On the first reading of the bare act of section 5 and 13, you must understand that section 5 is talking that the transfer is possible to living person only, and section 13 is making a transfer to unborn. So these two sections are not contradictory in nature, rather section 13 is the extension of section 5. How? Section 5 is making a transfer to living person, that same condition is being followed in the section 13 also, that prior transfer is made to a living person who is getting life state ownership, okay, life interest, and then the absolute interest is created for unborn, and this is how the transfer to unborn is made possible. So this is now clear ki how unborn is getting the interest. You need to understand one thing, that absolute interest means that the person gets interest in that particular property as a owner, or you can say a person is getting a ownership on in a particular property, then that can be that it should be an absolute interest. Means the person can dispose of, person can destruct, person can give that property. So it means that person is getting absolute interest over that particular property, whereas prior transfer which is made to a living person is life estate interest. That person can enjoy the property, but he or she is not getting absolute interest over the property. So this is how a transfer to unborn is executed. Now you need to know one fact which is coming in prelims also many of the times, that is this, ki as per Mulla has said that child in a womb is a living person, and this fact is also stated in the case Tagore versus Tagore. So you need to note this fact, okay. It is a question most popular in prelims, okay. Now I want to make you understand one section more, and that is section 20, okay. Section 20 is clearly stating that when the person who is not in existence is getting a property, or when the property is transferred to unborn, on his birth that person will acquire vested interest. Now there is two concepts under section 19 and under section 21. You will find two things, contingent interest and vested interest. So in my future videos you will find the difference between both the things, but today, for making you understand how section 20 is coming into picture, I am just making you understand one thing, that on the birth, if the birth take place of the person, of a child who is not in existence, when the person comes into existence, then at that moment the person will get vested interest as stated under section 20, okay. That person will get as vested interest. So you need to note this point only, and in my future videos, when vested and contingent interest is made clear, then you will understand and you will link this. But these three sections are needed to be read in sequence, and in your answer writing also you need to quote these three sections, okay. Thanks a lot, and please do watch my videos, subscribe and like also, and if you have any queries just post it, I will respond, okay. Thanks a lot.